So not audible.
Hi everyone.
Hello, sir.
No, I think Atishh, you're on mute.
You're on mute. I think we cannot still hear you.
Hi, am I audible now?
Yeah, audible now.
Hi.
Great. So since we are live right now, our audience can listen to us, and this is a very warm welcome to everybody who has joined us on Meta, LinkedIn, and YouTube. A warm welcome to our Phylpt live broadcast. This is yet another episode, and today what we are doing, we are tackling a game-changing topic for every parent and coach. This is a very loud claim that your child is a future superstar, and we are saying that there are using the help of predictive AI. You can spot athletic potential and active life. But before we proceed, all right, we want to bring and we want to bring into your notice that Coach Sethu Sathyan, who is the head of youth development at JAIN Sports, he won't be able to join us today due to some medical emergency. Our warm thoughts and prayers are with Coach Sethu for a full and speedy recovery, and we are going to miss his expertise here on the boards. On that note, before I introduce to our extraordinary guest experts on the stage, I would just like to highlight a few things. As always, this is supposed to be an interactive session, guys. So whoever has logged in us using Meta, LinkedIn, and YouTube, please cast your comments. Please use the comment box, live chats on YouTube, and also comments on LinkedIn to share any kind of questions which you may have, because this is supposed to be an interactive session, and our guest speakers would love to address those particular questions what you have. If you have any specific questions specifically for our guest, please go ahead and ask them accordingly. On that note, guys, let me introduce our first guest. Please welcome Amit Baraskar. Amit sir is the Senior Vice President and Head Group Treasury at Thomas Cook India. He's an award-winning track and field sprinter. He's certified sports nutrition, biohacker, and international author of Boundless Power of Superfood. He brings a masterclass combination of high-stakes corporate discipline, athlete endurance, and pediatric performance nutrition. A warm welcome to you, Amit sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
All right. On that note, let's welcome our second guest. Our second guest is Anthony Cardoz. So Anthony sir is the Senior Strength and Conditioning Coach at the prestigious Gaurav Khanna Excellence High Performance Center. Anthony sir is a sports scientist specialist with over a decade of experience in workload tracking, fidget management, and building high performance conditioning systems for international Paralympics champions and elite youth athletes. A very warm welcome, Anthony sir, to you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
All right. Before we deep dive into our very first question, guys, one thing before we start is, let's congratulate everybody who is participating at the Commonwealth and the way they are performing. Though we consider, or we say that the performance should have been the participation should have been much more than what is expected there. But that's fine. Somewhere we are starting, somewhere we are doing, somewhere we are contributing. So on that note, Amit sir, the first thing which I wanted to ask you is about we are saying that your child is a superstar, right? I mean, I'm sure you're a father, right? And so, how do you treat your child as a superstar? I mean, many a times we are working parents, right? We work out for 10 hours, 12 hours outside and so on. But how would we make our child to feel like a superstar? I mean, let's talk about the predictive AI analysis and all that stuff afterwards. But how do we make that child to feel like a superstar? Yes, Amit.
Yeah, sure. So Atishh, I think firstly, since you talked about the Commonwealth Games, I'll take a minute there.
Yeah.
As we speak, I think as of last evening or last night, we have 23 medals for India. Australia is leading with 128 medals.
Yes.
I had a question to ask. We know the size of Australia and the Australian population. We know the size of India and the Indian population. Are we so small that we should be on the 10th place? Of course, yes. I mean, there will be reasons and logic and rationale and all that. But the fundamental question that I will have is, aren't we... was a day when she could beat me in sprinting, in 50-meter dash, sorry. And that was, the moment of my life, because that's where, I was very happy about she, beating me, and then I'm looking forward to she going ahead. That be it. Apart from that, the relaxation, the recovery, the diet, all those things come very naturally for us, because it's like a second generation, or kind of quasi, you can say, third generation. So it's a naturally competitive, encouraging growth and encouraging environment that I have inherited from my father, and giving it to my daughter.
So are we trying to say that in order to make your child or make your child feel superstar, you need to be also a superstar along with her? Get along with them, get along with your child. I mean, it will not just keep you physically active as parent, but also the child will feel. And nowadays we know this for a fact that the child learns from most of us, right? So yeah, I mean, that's one takeaway. So Anthony, sir, a quick thoughts from your end. I mean, how do we make our child feel like a superstar, right? I mean, we're going to deep dive into the actual topic. How do we use AI and so on? But how do we make our child feel like a superstar?
Yeah, my perspective is, first of all, we need to motivate the kid, to motivate the child, and whatever he or she is doing. We shouldn't use too much of jargons. We shouldn't push the kid too much, and let the kid grow as per the basically LTAD model. We shouldn't try to specialize it at so early age that the kid is getting overwhelmed with a lot of logics, with a lot of pushing him too much or her too much, which will cause harm more than good, basically. That's my perspective.
All right, great. So we have Sumit Sharma. Sumit Sharma is just saying hi to Amit sir. He's from ex-OFA. So hi Sumit sir, thank you so much for joining in. All right. So Amit sir, coming back to you now. Since we are going to stick to our topic now, how can parent use biohacking principles and superfood to tackle the most important and the most, I mean, we called this as pandemic. Okay, we are calling this as one more pandemic, which is the daily screen time fidgeting. Okay, so how do the parents who are working parents and they cannot spend a lot of time with their kids, how do they use this biohacking principles and superfood to eliminate the daily screen time fidgeting? Also, how do they build the natural energy baseline for their kids? Yes, Amit sir.
Sure. So I think, as you rightly brought out, screen time jumping to twice or thrice or even more is very evident in the post-COVID era. Things were different before COVID, for whatever reasons. So I would say these are affecting kids and even sports kids in four specific areas. One is the eyes and myopia, which used to be myopia is basically nearsightedness. So if you try to look beyond a particular distance, it is blurred vision. That is myopia. Myopia used to be single digits in kids before COVID. Now, as we speak, it has jumped to about 20 to 25%
Yeah.
in kids, and that is in the diagnosed population of the kids. There is a largely undiagnosed, unexplored, undetected population, which is still going to add to that 20-25% of myopia.
Uh-huh.
Uh, Simple thing would be, everyone knows vitamin A, helps there. And vitamin
Uh-huh.
A for the non-vegetarians comes very naturally because virtually all animal foods has got vitamin A. But amongst the vegetarians and the vegans, leafy greens, orange and yellow veggies typically have vitamin A. The second area affected is, uh, I'm not saying affected, it is damaged, and especially the upper portion of the spine, the neck, the trapezius, and around. Uh, there, to take it from the damaged level or a weak spine to, say, everyone knows Hercules.
Yeah.
If you want to take it to a Herculean spine, that kind of strong spine, uh, yoga is the only answer, in my view at least. Not yoga which is taught in air conditioned classrooms, but a genuine yogi can make your spine as strong as Hercules. Very confident about that. The third one is sleep. See, there's a defined circadian rhythm. There's a defined, well-defined sleep cycle which humans go through about 5-6 cycles in a night. Now, higher screen time affects the amount of time you spend in deep sleep. When you say deep sleep, it is every sleep cycle of 90 minutes is broken into four cycles, four parts. There is a third and fourth part which is deep sleep. By having high screen time or blue screens around bedtime, or things like alcohol, etc., etc., you only spend lesser time in the deeper sleep, and that affects health entirely, and also expedites aging. And one more thing which is catching up now, getting importance after COVID, is brain health. Brain health also gets damaged by higher screen times.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so, just like I mentioned, yoga is an answer to building a spine. When it comes to brain health, when it comes to recovery, sleep, uh, Ayurveda has a host of herbs. I can go on and on with the names of the herbs. There is ashwagandha, there is jatamansi, there is shankapushpi, there is sarpagandha, a host of herbs which can really help aid brain health, including brain recovery, including nerve stimulation, nerve relaxation. So yeah, there are solutions, but I think instead of getting into the damage and then getting into solutions, it's good to get back to a normal kind of screen time. How much is normal is going to be subjective. So I think we'll have to
Okay.
reason for that.
Okay. All right. So I'm not sure. There is some background noise from
Just
Amit sir. Is it from your end or is it from Anthony sir's end? We'll try to
no,
rectify that.
I'm sitting in a very close room.
Yeah.
Is it
Okay.
one?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's
This
fine.
is better now, sir. Yeah. This is better now. All right. So Anthony sir, taking the same perspective from Amit sir. Now, do we think that, see, we know this for a fact that we cannot change the screen time from the kids? Looking at the current education system, looking at the way things are academically, they need mobile phones for completing their
Right.
projects, to watch there and so on. But can we convert that unproductive screen time to a productive screen time also? Is there a means by we can do that which will not impact or which will not create one more pandemic when it comes to that screen time for kids? Yes, Anthony sir.
Yes. So my perspective about the same would be, don't use a screen time apart from your, like whatever your work you're doing for the kids, basically post school hours or the post class hours. Better if they get indulged into some physical activity rather than
Mm-hmm.
coming home again and watching, like whatever YouTube or whatever, any social media or
Mm-hmm.
any basically for that matter, anything. So
Mm-hmm.
I would recommend them utilize the same time in doing something productive.
Okay.
Secondly, the worst thing nowadays, it's like doom scrolling, and parent is not aware of that what the kid is watching on the phone. And the more you
Mm-hmm.
scroll, the attention span before a decade was 40 seconds. Now it's
Absolutely.
hardly 10 seconds, and it's
Yeah.
now it's going more below that.
Yeah.
Hence, if you see nowadays, whatever the reels are made or whatever the Instagram or like social media posts, they have the time frame only of 6 to 8 seconds. So our
Yeah.
attention span has gone so down, so that and this is known by all the creators. So they try to grab the attention within those 5 seconds, 5 to 6 seconds, which is
Absolutely.
eventually is going to get more and more shorter. So the only idea is, if at all possible, try to, if at all possible, completely stop using phone apart from your work. If at all also you're using the phone, gather the good information, watch a long form content, let the dopamine release be slow. Try to do certain better things which can give you a dopamine, dopamine release. There are much example, you play any sport, you indulge into any good activity, you are going to get a good amount of dopamine, which is going to creating a last, it will last comparatively much more time than doom scrolling.
Okay. So I'm not sure whether we should take this as an acknowledgement, because that's what we are something that we are trying to create, Anthony sir.
Okay.
So we are trying to create so we are going to be launching very soon as Phylpt, where we have our curriculum, our activities are based on a long-term athletic development program. We have also taken national education policy, physical literacy into consideration. We are also adhering to United Nations Global Goals physical literacy aspect, and also been co-created by the great Pulila Gopichand sir and Manoj Rana, and our global athletes and coaches. So yes, we are trying to convert that non-productive screen time to a
Productive one.
productive screen time,
Productive.
and also capturing that activity, which will
Right.
also let you know that your kid is more proficient towards which sport. I mean, which is an A sport, B sport, rather than putting them into any random sport. Okay.
Right.
On that note, Anthony sir, I would also like to understand from your end. This is a question from many parents across the globe. Okay. Since you work, you're working with elite athletes and many parents, because many parents fear that weight training for kids um, is it should not start very early. So, at what age should the structural strength training begin, and how does proper programming protect that growth plates when it comes to those particular kids?
Yeah. So the first thing, there has to be a structured program from, like, starting from the as good as the age of 3. We can start training them. Once
Mm-hmm.
there is a basic movement literacy has been inculcated, once
Mm-hmm.
the kid is knows like how to do a bodyweight exercise, and once they get efficient to it, post that we can start gradually loading them with the weights, external weights.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the myth about getting injured using any sort of external, stimulus or external weight is only happens when the program is not well structured, or either it's the weight is too much for the kid, means overtraining. It is basically they are pushing the kid and he's not resting enough, resting well enough. There is some lack of nutrition. In that cases, the epiphyseal plate can get damaged and can create a problem in the, as the myth goes on, that it stops the height of the kid, stop
Okay.
it from growing. So the right thing
Absolutely.
is to have a proper program, a structured program, and you will find, in fact, you will find a good amount of growth in the kid itself.
Absolutely. One very important thing which you spoke about, Anthony sir, is about how prone are you for injuries? Okay,
Right.
because parent fear this, that the early I start giving my or introducing my kid to a sport, there's a possibility that my kid, especially into girls, अरे लड़की को लग जाएगी तो यार आगे क्या होगा, right?
Right.
So just to apprise uh, the product which we are developing, we also are able to detect how prone is your kid in terms of injuries. Injury prone is also been detected in our in our program or in our product what we are going to be launching. Amit sir, what would be your thoughts on the same aspect? I mean, how early should there be a physical literacy or physical activity intervention for a kid? I would go. I'm going to be asked. I'm going to be adding one more question to that, Amit sir, for you. Where is, since you have also actively trained, actively trained for sprint events. Now, how can those short explosive sprint mechanism be used in youth sports to build physical literacy as core posture, early in their childhood? So there are two questions. One about how soon, whether that is used, or whether they should use that early uh, high lifting of weights and so on. They should get introduced there, and about the mechanism which can be used.
Sure.
Yes, Amit.
So, as far as the timing is concerned, I think very clearly earlier the better.
Uh-huh.
Now, a lot of questions from the parents, and it used to come from my parents when I was a young athlete also. That what about the height then? If we start early, isn't the height going to get affected or stop because of heavy load on the spine? Um, so that is a subjective and slightly sensitive topic. My answer to that would be, you know, basic stretches will take care of a little bit of, I mean, whatever little bits of damage are done by the heavy lifting. But I think
Mhm,
lifting or strengthening should start early in the age. Now,
mhm,
coming to how can sprint or what happens when you sprint really, and uh, I would prefer to add plyometrics also to that because both give
please,
similar
yes.
similar effects. And plyometrics are basically, more of jumps, various types of jumps. Uh, Both are explosive. So, sprinting and plyometrics builds explosive muscle strength and obviously muscle mass also. And as a result, if you see sprinters, they look very, very strong. They stand out always. I'm not a fan of going by look of the body, but see, it generally gives a confidence boost to any athlete. So that is helpful. Second, as against the uh, you know uh, distance running or endurance running, where people run. I mean, with due respect, that tuku running, which takes time and has very less involvement of number of muscles as compared to that, or a contrast to that. When you sprint, you're sprinting with the whole body and the whole brain.
Great.
At not supersonic, but that would be an exaggeration, but very, very high speeds. So in general, the working of the body and the brain becomes faster. That's what I have believed, and that's what I'm seeing in sprinters. uh, as you rightly indicated, posture correction, there is amazing posture correction. You're almost rectifying all your wrong postures when you're sprinting and doing plyometrics. And people look at small nutrients and supplements and all that. The major supplement, or one of the biggest supplements, is sprinting and plyometrics, which is a major testosterone booster.
Booster.
So, and that's one of the reasons you see high growth in the individuals who typically sprint and jump. Now, just a word of caution. Yes, there are a lot of advantages in the sprinting and the plyometrics, but it is very risky and very, very high prone to injury.
Injury.
So, how do we prevent that, some preventives. One is, before jumping to a sprinting or a plyo, I think you have to ensure that you work at strengthening the whole body. No stepmotherly treatment. Uh, Generally, people tend to work at those muscles which can be flashed around, or which are evident, very clearly evident, ignoring very critical muscles. Like, I don't know how many really put effort in training the soleus muscle, the tibialis, but these are all very important, critical to sprinting. So ensure that the whole body becomes strong before sprinting. And then there is a need for passive as well as active rest recovery, and there are a host of techniques for that before you
Mhm.
get back next sprint. So sprint is not something which should be done every day. You recover fully and then get back to the next sprinting or plyometrics session.
Okay. So, just for our audience, can you please define sprinting and plyometrics in a simpler way? What do we mean by that? So I see,
Sure.
we have mix of audience, right? But we want to reach out to as much as we can. So for us, so we as a layman, I understand what is sprinting, right? But then if you can just define this in a very simpler way, I think this would be a great help for everyone.
Sure. So I'll also add a technique, but simplified or
Yeah.
dissected. Sprinting would be 100 meters sprint, but that is at, the effort level is more towards a 95%. There is a 50-meter dash also. And when we are talking about people, generally the viewers see 100-meter as one small little set, but we
Mm-hmm.
divide this into three sets: the start and the maintenance and the finish. All
Mm-hmm.
three are different for us. Just to give you an example, the start,
Mm-hmm.
you need to have a, I mean, if you have to have a explosive start, which is, where you complete the first 30 meters in 3.5 or 4 seconds, technique becomes important. If you
Mm-hmm.
run like any other runner or athlete, which is straightforward, not leaning forward, you're actually not cutting through the air, you're fighting with the air.
Right. Yeah.
And fighting with the air, you waste a lot of time.
Energy.
So you actually go
Mhm.
like a swimmer, a head down swimmer, and you get into the air. That's how you start. So it's all technical. Plyometrics are, yeah, there are box jumps, there are various types of jumps, including the long jumps and high jumps. But there are a lot of jumping drills for that, and various equipment for that. Jumping does amazing work for your, especially for glutes, for the small little tibialis, soleus, apart from the calves. So it actually trains your entire midsection, that is your core, as well as almost all the parts of the legs, which typically in a slow running don't get developed.
Absolutely, absolutely. So thank you so much for that explanation, sir. It was very important. I'm sure some of our parents and audience, they may not be from a sports background. They may not. They may be from a different background. So for them, we are trying to make that thoughts easier. So Anthony, sir, coming to you, as a conditional coach, okay, as a strength and conditioning coach, what what thought comes to your mind? The very first thought that, see, nowadays we know this for a fact, and even currently, it's a rainy season right now, right? At least
Right.
in India, for the audience
Right.
who's watching us in India, from India. Now, it's very difficult for a kid to go out, right? It is the kid is very much positioned within the periphery of his house. Okay.
Right.
Um, would there be any kind of recommendation from your end that, for the parents or even for the kids, where the parents can show them that, okay, at least do this kind of activities, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes a day, which is more than sufficient enough for you to to be physically active Any suggestions or recommendation from your end, Anthony sir?
Yeah. So as the word suggests, strength and conditioning. So strengthening means strengthening the muscles, and conditioning means training the physiology,
Mm-hmm.
like how the body is responding to any given stimulus.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there is a very big myth that conditioning can be done only like outdoors, or it cannot be done in a gym or in a closed space. So,
Mm-hmm.
for example, if I go a bit more scientific, so
Mm-hmm.
I just try to easy it as much as possible. So, conditioning
Mm-hmm.
means training the energy system, and
Mm-hmm.
every human being has a three energy systems. One is
Mm-hmm.
ATP-CP, works on phosphorin system. One is glycolytic, and one is the oxidative. To
Mm-hmm.
simplify it, if I do any activity which is like as less as you can say 10 seconds. So
Mm-hmm.
my first energy system is going to get utilized. That is ATP-CP
Okay.
system. Also in
Okay.
sprinting, Amit sir will agree with me. In sprinting, that is the most dominant energy system, ATP-CP, performance
Mm-hmm.
system.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So
Right.
basically, to train that energy system, if I modify my exercise, if I am doing squats for that matter, and I am completing as many squats within 10 seconds, I am eventually going into tap into the energy system ATP-CP, and it's
Mm-hmm.
going to enhance my phosphorin energy system.
Okay.
Similarly, I can also, if I want to condition my, you can say my aerobic system, I can
Mm-hmm.
do like spot jogging, slow jogging for a beginner. I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I can do a timed high knee. I can do a cycling if I have a cycle at home. I
Mm-hmm.
can just move around, jog around for around a period of time. Any
Mm-hmm.
activity going for more than 2.5 minutes, if I keep on doing some activity like jogging around in the house for around 10 minutes, it's going to ramp up my heart rate. It's going to tap into my aerobic system.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, sprinting won't be possible at home in a very closed
Absolutely. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
and enclosed space, but still the aerobic system can be trained. A
Okay.
glycolytic system can be also trained in a enclosed space.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I like to add about the plyometric. If I simplify about this plyometric, it is just change in distance. So it is coming from a Greek. Plyo means change, and the metric means a distance. So how, like example, how high you're jumping. Like
Mm-hmm.
basically you're measuring how up from the ground you're moving, or how
Mm-hmm.
forward you're jumping.
Mm-hmm.
Also, a lot of people do plyometric for so many reps sets basically that can completely put your efforts into waste, because plyometrics can never be trained for endurance. It is used for power, to train power. So
Correct.
just a suggestion for everyone watching this: if you want to train plyometrics, start with very basic exercises. Start with pogo jumps, start with hops, start with bounds, and make sure the volume is very low. If you do much of
Okay.
for a too much amount of volume, the whole purpose is going for a toss.
Absolutely.
Also, it
Absolutely.
can help to in terms of height. It can, as I missed in the last segment, I forgot to mention. Plyometrics can also help to increase the height by something called as Wolff's law. When I'm jumping, there's something called as osteoblast is happening in the bone, which will help the bone to grow
Grow.
stronger and longer.
Sorry,
Absolutely.
Atish, I'm going to jump
Yeah.
in because
Yeah.
Anthony touched my heart when he talked about
Yes.
sprinting and
Well,
plyo
so
cannot be done at
before
home.
one important thing which is coming before I miss out on that, sir. You have given us Anthony sir has given us multiple exercises or activities which we can do, hopping, jumping, and so on within the house. But this is for both of you. I have been an athlete. I was the captain of under 14 Maharashtra cricket team. I'm still a coach with multiple schools and colleges and so on. The very important thing which we miss out is of at home specifically is about warm up. Okay, that's
Right.
very important. How important would be, Amit sir? I'm sorry to interrupt, but yeah,
Go ahead.
you can apprise on this. You can include warm up also in this thoughts, and then apprise, please, sir. Yes, Amit sir.
Sure. So, what I was saying is Anthony touched my heart when he talked about some things cannot be done at home. So, for your information, I had to stop plyometrics at home because couple of times it actually happened that my neighbor suddenly came out of his door crying earthquake, earthquake. And that was a time when I was actually doing plyometrics. I was doing
Okay.
jumps. So after a couple of times of this kind of incidents, I somehow gave up plyometrics at home.
Mhm.
Um, You were talking about what were you talking about just now?
The warm up aspect.
Yeah, yeah. See, warm up. Yeah, I mean, undoubtedly, it is essential. But I think what most people forget, especially the amateur athletes, is that there has to be a warm up which is general, and there has to be a warm up which is body part specific, and that will depend upon what is the day's physical schedule. So, if you're going to train, say, for example, if I go for a discus throw session after the usual or general warm up, I would warm up my upper body thoroughly. Also, a little bit of leg work also, because yes, legs also come into picture. But that body part specific warm up is also very, very essential.
Mhm. Okay, great. So let's move on to the next segment, since with due respect of the time, Amit sir, uh,
Yep.
we'll stick back to you and understand. So we have been talking about all this, right? I mean, uh, but how do we measure this? What are the measurable outcomes? Okay, what are the mechanisms of doing so? And we are also sure about this. Physical activities, physical literacy, physical health is most important. But at the same time, Amit sir, you'd love to answer this, I'm sure. Your nutritional health also plays a very important role. What you take in, your body gives out, right?
Yep.
Uh,
Yep. True.
so, in today's world, with due respect of your experience into superfood, also into sports nutrition, how do this physical activities aspect, which we have been talking about from the last 38, 39 minutes, along with the nutrition, collaborate together um, for a better life, for a better or a futuristic, healthy and active life for kids?
Sure. Uh, so yeah, this is a very undermined area, or I would say, see, I get fed up of generalizations. So if you talk about nutrition, there is too much of generalization today, and I'm sure it will prevail tomorrow as well. Say, I'll give some examples of typical fads of running after protein, but very few people really go beyond the word protein, as if x amount of protein can do everything, and beyond that nothing. But basically, if you're talking about protein, we need to understand, there is a protein absorption rate also. So there are complete proteins, there are incomplete proteins. And basically, what is protein? If you're dissecting protein, it is a chain of amino acids. There are nine essential amino acids. There are 10 so-called, and I'm again saying so-called non-essential amino acids. Why are they called non-essential? Because they are produced by the body. So general sentiment, general thought is, when for those who dissect or go one step beyond the word protein, general understanding is the non-essential proteins are not needed as an injection. Whereas if you really deep dive into it, there are non-essential amino acids like glutamine. There is taurine. These are made by the body, but in athletes, these are depleted, especially
Hmm.
glutamine, because that's why glutamine supplement is very common and high value adding. Um let's come to Gen Z, for example, because I think I can safely generalize that 80% of today's athletes, 80% plus, are going to be Gen Zs. And, that will go to further 90 plus tomorrow. Uh, Gen Z diets typically lack fiber. You need 20 grams, an average person needs 20 grams of fiber, but the diet's heavy on protein but lacking fiber. Gen Z typically diets lack water. Uh, Gen Z diets typically lack C vitamin, And in general, Indian diets, Indian, Pakistani, Nigerian diets, they are vitamin A deficient. So, instead of generalizing, it's good to, be specific, do an assessment on a regular basis, not once in a while, of what are your intakes are giving you what kind of nutrition versus what are the RDRs or RDAs, which is basically the daily requirements of the body. That becomes very important, and especially so for athletes. I can give you an example of calcium. Calcium, I think you need about 800 mg every day, an average person. Now, if that is not fed by nutrition, the body actually takes it from the bone mineral density. So, just a mathematical equation. Instead of 800 mg every day, you take 400 mg. That additional or difference of 400 mg is going to come from the reduced bone mineral density. And if that happens every single day, imagine in a span of 365 days or in a span of 5 years, 10 years, where will the bone density go? And that leads to a osteopenia and then osteoporosis. Just giving example. So, uh, you know, I think we're generally talking about AI. AI can come in and work wonders in assessing on an individual basis what are the needs, nutritional needs, and what are the deficiencies.
Mm-hmm.
Apart
Okay.
from the nutrition, I think the areas where AI can work wonder here is, monitoring the recovery, monitoring the stress levels, uh, mapping and throwing which recovery method for which problem or what level of stress or what level of fatigue. Um Also, in injury prevention, injury detection, AI can be extremely helpful. Today, as we speak, at world class sessions, there are injury prevention apps which have come, which actually, not prevention but real-time detection of injury is possible, which
Yeah.
on a real-time basis is assessing your body, and before the injury, a little before the injury happens, it is predicting what injury at what stage are you going to have. So these things can be, in the preventive science, AI can come in and work wonders.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's what we are trying to put our efforts on, sir. So as I mentioned to you over the call, also I've spoken to Anthony sir also, that what we are trying to do, we are trying um, uh, to create the future athletes, um, and we are catering right from age of 3 to 12, which is the prime age where we should take care of our kids, right from the nutritional value of their intakes, the prone injuries, as well as their entire data scientist. I mean, when we talk about their strength, their endurance, the speed, all that parameters would be captured, and we should be in a position of telling the parent that your kid, your child is more prone towards A sport, B sport, or C sports, rather than putting, like, for example, we always do this, right? I mean, I, being a cricketer, I always wanted my daughter to go and play cricket. But whenever I take her to the ground, she'll be like, Dada, I do not want to play cricket. I would rather be a goalkeeper in football, or I would rather be happy swimming, or I'll rather go and dance. But I do not like cricket. I can watch you playing cricket, but I cannot do that. But a majority of our parents are, not just in India but globally. This is how it is, right? We carry the the heritage of our families. So on that note, Anthony sir, what we would like to understand from you, okay, the very important aspects which we spoke about, how AI can help us, okay.
Right.
uh, how can how can this predictive, is there any technology you would recommend? I mean, I'm sure we are launching, which is covering all this aspect, but um, are you using as a coach, are you using any kind of technology which can be used right now by parents for this for which will simplify this sports readiness check, okay, which will also incorporate the nutritional value, which parents can use? I'll give you a classic example. I'll give you a classic example. How am I doing that? So my daughter, as per her age, she's her weight is towards a higher side. So doctor
Okay.
advised us for a diet. Okay.
Diet.
Also asked us to capture her activities, her sleep, her food intake on real time basis.
Right.
So how did I started doing this is I used Gemini's, Claude, and Chat GPT, created an Excel, created a Google sheet, updating her physical time, sleeping time, food, nutrition values, and so on, and then putting that information on every day on Gemini, and creating that tab within Gemini and asking that how is she, what are this is her weight. We gave I've also provided the BMI, body mass index, and so on, though I cannot capture her what is she doing in the school, how
Right.
much
Right.
activity she's doing. But this is the basic thing what I as a parent am doing. Okay, because I use so much of AI, and since I have a AI based edtech company, sports tech company, and a deep tech company, so I am used to this. But any layman person who's listening to us, any person, any parent, is there any guideline from your end, Anthony sir, which would say that simply just use this, yaar, ye karo, at least basic to pata
Most
chale.
basic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So most basic, I will emphasize on first of all tracking sleep cycles, like tracking a sleep, whether how much you're sleeping, have you had a sound sleep. Also measuring your heart rate on a daily basis. If a
Mhm.
heart rate seems very too much high, that's the
Mhm.
easiest thing a person can do. Just check the pulse and see how the heart rate is at
Mhm.
waking up. If the heart rate
Mhm.
seems pretty much high, and I would recommend them to at least twice or thrice just check it again and again. So sometimes what
Mhm.
happens is initially it might be high. After like few minutes, it can like settle down to its baseline.
Mhm.
If
Mhm.
the heart rate is too much high compared to the baseline, that means something is wrong. You have not slept properly. Your cortisol levels are high, and I would recommend just take a break on that day. It's not about
Mhm.
always pushing too much every day. It's about training
Mhm.
wisely. When you are completely recovered, push hard. On the days you are not recovered, just rest it out. Go for a go for a no, casual normal swim, or go for a slow long distance walk. That will be much helpful. If
Mhm.
someone has a good you can say variables, they can check the heart rate variability, track sleep cycles more easily daily,
Mhm.
and not too much emphasis on the. Of course, eating has to be on the point. Also, I feel the one I think Amit sir will agree on this. A lot of people are consuming supplements without basically fulfilling the macronutrients. So,
Mhm.
for example, if I'm consuming too much collagen, if I'm consuming too much creatine, but if I'm not consuming enough protein, that creatine and the collagen, it's going to be broken down into amino acids, and it's not going to be utilized for what is supposed to be actually utilized.
Mhm.
It will be used for the energy instead of
Mhm.
using for its main purpose. For example, collagen is for use for the skin, for the joint health overall. But let's
Mhm.
assume my protein intake is supposed to be around 1.5 gram per kg, and I'm supposed to eat around 90 grams per day. And if I'm
Mhm.
having only 20 grams a day, but still I'm loading a lot of collagen, it's not going to be helpful. Eventually, it's going to be broken down and going to be utilized for the sake of energy and not for the purpose of like for my skin repair or my joint repair.
Okay.
Yeah.
Understand that.
Apart from that, I like to add one more. A basic, very cheap, very minimalistic cost. You can get a hand grip dynamometer.
Okay.
By hand grip dynamometer, you can create a baseline. If suppose my hand grip strength is 90 kgs, and I consider that is a baseline. If there is a significant drop, like more than 10% on the next day, that means somewhere my CNS, my brain is tired. So the next day can be a pretty much indication of not to train today very heavy. And or else I can train which are very easy, like easy long run, slow run. It's a most
Okay.
cheapest option. Of course, it won't be as accurate as a force plate. It cannot be as accurate as a fancy, like expensive equipment. but it helps with the purpose, like to get an idea how tired you are, how tired your brain is. If your brain is
Brain
tired,
is.
you cannot produce maximum strength. You cannot produce like much of force, too much of force. So that can be
Absolutely.
an indication that you're tired. And it's also very cheap equipment. A hand grip dynamometer will hardly cost like 1,000 rupees.
Oh, okay. Okay. So these are very valuable insights from the parent perspective, right? I mean, if you really want to keep a track, I mean, you need not have to spend a lot of money on heavy gadgets and expensive gadgets and those fancy gadgets which the kids are more prone towards, I mean, and attracted towards. But on that note, Amit sir, with due respect of the time, I would like to understand a couple of important things before we conclude. This is going to be a conclusive thoughts from your end. One, should we as a parent advise kids to wear wearables? Okay, I mean, when we talk about wearables, smart devices, I'm not saying the entire time because in schools it is not allowed. Many of not just India but even internationally, but at least sometime to capture those details. One is that, Amit sir. Second, um, is is our Indian meal providing adequate nutrition or the values for your kid, which can create future athletes? Okay, I'm mixing two three questions with due respect of the time because we started late.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
um, uh, and if not, how would you put this across and make an ecosystem where you use smart bands or gadgets, change the nutritional value of your daily meal? Because हमें कहा जाता है बॉस घर की दाल रोटी सही है, बट हमें पता है दाल रोटी में कुछ क्या है क्या नहीं है. We know because we have been doing that. Okay, I mean, for example, I eat only one meal a day, but I know how do I compensate on that meal. Okay, so I know why am I doing that. So one, should the parent be allow parent use the gadgets, smart bands, or which are there? Okay. Second, is our Indian diet, our Indian ghar ka khana good for health? If does that have adequate nutrition value, which not just provide or create a future athletes, but at least active life? If not, how the entire ecosystem of the tech, homemade food, dietary systems, physical attributes, you as an expert would advise to a parent, and also to the youth development ministry to a larger scale? Yeah, Amit sir.
Sure. Thanks, Atishh. So I think on the wearable devices, whether it is the watch or today the trend is of ring or any other similar device for kids. See, non-sports kids, I don't think required really. There could be exceptions where there is a risk and all that, but those will be very few in kids. But if the kid is going to head for professional sports, I think monitoring is essential. Monitoring, analyzing the graphs yeah, can really add value, whether it is sleep time, sleep quality, or it is the heart rate, or it is the blood pressure. Very good to know these things, because then if there is any correction to be done, you can actually do it on time. Many times the kid is good, there is a lot of willpower, good coaches, but something has gone off, and if that is not tracked, the performance will not be optimum. If intention is to go professional, I think the right device is a good investment. It's not an expense, according to me. Um, Coming to the touchy topic of Indian meals, and one of my favorite topics is the Indian thali, and it's not one single thali because we have so many regions and amazing diversity. But uh, I see I mean, enormous amounts of science put in designing the various Indian thalis. And I'm especially a fan of the South Indian thalis, not just for the taste, but for the nutrition. Uh,
Yes.
if you if you look at say a typical South Indian thali, for example, just with due respect to all the others, I'm just giving picking and choosing one of them. Fermented foods like the idli or dosa combined with a sambar, the nutrition value is enormous, and with the chutney, which is mixture of herbs. um, there is so much science put into it. And if you see what is a Indian thali, it is basically a sandwich made of multi nutrients, multi foods, wrapped under the so-called it's not wrapped under bread, but it's wrapped between two layers of fiber. And that's where the Indian thali teaches us a lot of things which is unique to India and a gift to India, which is the food sequencing, uh, food mixing. And typically we are taught to have two meals or two thalis a day and not touch food otherwise. So there is no insulin abuse, and that goes a long way in preserving life and longevity. Indian thalis do not have any junk food or any fancy food. Indian thalis do not have any liquid calories, which are the silent damagers in any other food types. So a lot of respect to this. However, if you're talking about athletes, and especially those who are vegetarians and vegans by choice or by religion, uh, I wouldn't generalize. I would look at specific requirements. So in general, if you see, I think how do we bring in we go without any ego clash? How do we bring in completeness to the Indian thali? One is what is missing in general is Ayurveda basically has a host of foods, and it's all magical. Nutrition value super high, whether it is herbs or it is spices. Lot of them hidden. Also secrets of longevity hidden in Ayurveda. If we combine the Indian thali with relevant foods from Ayurveda, also uh, as against the popular belief that Indian food is good, anything foreign is not, you should stay away. As against that popular belief, if we pick and choose the right, foreign foods. So, for example, we have amazing vegetables like the spinach or the beetroot or the drumstick. But apart from that, if we also include a broccoli, an asparagus, an artichoke, um, we have amazing spices which we use every day: ginger, turmeric. We use saffron, 4 lakh rupees kilo. Uh, but if we if we also bring in the pipili, the Garcinia cambogia, which is nothing but Malabar tamarind from Ayurveda, if we bring into the Indian thali, we can really make this thali really, really rich and complete. And if you see the world over, Game Changers is a good series on Netflix. On how vegan sports persons are now proving to be better performers than the
Performers.
non-vegetarian sports persons. And I think that revolution should have started with India. But nevertheless, I think that is a gift which India can really give to the world in the form of a slightly, not majorly, slightly modified Indian thali.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much, Amit sir, for putting this in a very structured way. Okay, this was very much required because this is what we have heard that, right? I mean, not every diet of Indian recommended diet is good for health, for better physical and active life, or even if you want to pursue your career into sports. Um, One more insights which I would like to apprise what Amit sir said. Um, I'm a very strong and a firm believer of one important thing. That's my personal perspective of thoughts. We may be able to identify a talent or spot a talent only when we monetize or monitor that. Okay, as Amit sir recommended, that somebody who wants to pursue his career into sport, they should be using a gadget. But my thought is, we as athletes, we as Indians, or we as many people in the world, they are unaware of what or how many professional sports have been played across the country. There is a possibility that a kid or an individual may be more proficient towards, or his physical attributes could be proficient towards A sport, B sport, C sport, which may not be the world's top sport, but
Right.
they can still participate. I mean, look at the last Olympics. There were 117 participants from the entire 140 crores of population. Why? Because there are so many other sports. It's not just about sport, but it's also about active life, which we are not even aware, because everybody wants to run against cricket, hockey now, kabaddi now, football now. Okay, all thanks to social media, badminton, lawn tennis. What about other sports? Neeraj Chopra had come. That's why people have started throwing a stick,
Yeah.
right? Hey, what about other sports? There are so many other sports. Why not? I mean, look at the countries like Netherlands, Scotland. I know, with due respect of the population of India, okay, that's one of the biggest challenges. I mean, the kids they don't travel by an auto rickshaw, something like that. They cycle to their schools. Okay, there are cycle tracks there. They are more healthier. I mean, the screen times. I mean, in some of the countries, the screen time is restricted for until age of 16, but they have been given the screen only for a specific time when they are doing some physical activities or something like that. So, yeah, I mean, good to have those mixed thoughts. I mean, we are also very strong and a firm believer that everybody could not agree to every aspect of what we are trying to do. So, on the closing notes, to conclude that, we've already crossed around 3 minutes more. Anthony sir, we would like to conclude from your end of your suggestions and recommendations with your decade-long experience as a coach. That first is, should the parent allow kids to use a gadget? If so, should there be a restriction? If yes, how should the parent also keep monitor that? Okay, and will there be any kind of physical longevity or activities which they should involve, or they should incorporate in their day-to-day activities, and how do they do that using the technology? Yes, Anthony sir.
Yeah. So I think using the technology, for example, if there's an app which can guide the kids like what exercises to be done. If the app somehow can rectify the form and technique of the kid, it can be much more beneficial. And it's like with it's the kid is using the technology for something productive, not just scrolling, not just doom scrolling, which is going to help the kid to overall his physical attributes. And parents, of course, should keep a tab on what the kid is going through, what is he watching, as I mentioned. Also, I'd like to address one thing. Like initially, Amit sir asked, in the population of 1.48 billion, why just so less athletes? And most of the Indians might be having the same question. The answer is that no, it would be, don't chase one particular sport which is very famous. The right testing, the right talent identification is the thing we miss in India. I feel the major part. If we identify the right age, and as per the fiber dominance, fiber type, the athlete, the kid's physiological dominance, if we assign that particular sport to a kid, just for a layman term, just to make it easier, if a kid is very hefty, very healthy, and he's having too much of body size, he may, I'm not saying absolute, but he may excel in wrestling, He may excel in
Absolutely.
certain sports which needs that amount of huge body. Compared to forcing him to play cricket or asking him to play certain sport which requires a huge amount of change of direction. Of course, he won't be able to prosper in that. Even if now people might say that if you like dedicated to do something, mind over matter and will has to be strong. Even if you put all your will, the of course the science will triumph. Even if you put your whole will and if you try to push yourself too much, you might reach to a state or national level, not beyond that. Compared to a person who is already having an advantage, and if that kid has been trained from the right age, he by comparatively a very easy means he can reach at the top in no time. So I feel that's a gap in India. We need to focus on like the talent identification, for which you are doing a great work, Atishh sir, as you are already working towards it. The talent identification. Once I think that has been worked upon, brushed upon, I think we can create a generations of athlete
Absolutely.
by providing the right program.
Great, great. All right, so we have already crossed around 7 minutes, though we joined in late. But thank
Yes,
you
sir.
so much. Thank you so much, Amit sir. Thank you so much, Anthony sir. It was pleasure having you guys on boards. And trust me, I personally had an amazing conversation. I learned a lot of things from Amit sir. I mean, there are a lot of terms which we used. Even Anthony sir, the guidance which you have given. So thank you so much for joining in. Amit sir, anything which you would like to conclude? Then we'll give the forum to Anthony sir.
Uh, on this sports discovery thing, I always give the analogy of big man Sachin Tendulkar to everyone that even if Sachin had gone to some other sport, he would have still, with his kind of dedication, willpower, he would have still been an amazing sports person, but he would not have been the god of cricket. So
Absolutely.
it is essential. The sports discovery, basically, sports discovery is very critical. Essential to try it out, give some time to different sports, and then shortlist. And so it's something which will take a couple of months, or maybe more than a year or two also, but it is a good time investment to discover which is that sport which is made for you. That's one. And second, I'm sure this also leaves a lot of questions unanswered. It's not possible to answer all the related questions in one single session. So for any and every question related to health and fitness, I have my next book, which is 55 questions on health and fitness, which will get released later this month. Just wanted to give a heads up
Wow.
on that.
Wow, congratulations, sir.
Thank you so
Congratulations,
much.
sir.
Thank you. Yeah,
Congratulations,
that's
sir.
it from my side. But
Looking
Atish,
forward to your
thanks.
book.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks. And Anthony, I love the approach. A couple of things which you talked about. It's been amazing. Happy to connect, sometime
Yes,
peacefully.
most definitely.
Anthony sir, would you like to conclude your conversation? Any suggestions, recommendations for your parents, coaches, sports enthusiasts?
Yes, sir. Like as I said, like also Amit sir said, don't try to just focus on one sport. Play multiple sport. See what you are good in. Try to pursue what you're already good in, rather than focusing what you're not, and wasting too much time on it.
Great. So on that note, thank you so much again, Amit sir and Anthony sir. And thank you so much for the audience who have joined us live on Meta, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Uh, it was an amazing conversation. We had an amazing thought process, and we will keep coming every Saturday the same way. So, yes, if you have any questions specifically for Amit sir or Anthony sir, Sethu sir could not join, but if you have any questions, please use the comments or live chats on any of these platforms, and I'm sure they would love to answer that. And yes, in the meanwhile, I'll see you in the on next Saturday. So thank you so much, and see you guys. Thank you so much, Amit sir, again, and thank you so much, Anthony sir.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Atish. Thank you so much. Pleasure having us here.